In the heart of a busy African city where the sun sets behind bustling streets and the cries of the hungry go unheard, a young woman holds her last meal. Her stomach aches, her heart is heavy, but when she sees a stranger in need, she faces a choice that will change her life forever. Who is this old man, and how will one act of kindness turn her world upside down? Sit back, relax, and let this story take you on a journey of hope, compassion, and unexpected miracles. The city of Delta never slept, not even as the golden sun began to sink toward the horizon. The streets were alive with a chaotic symphony, horns blaring, tires screeching, hawkers shouting, and the smell of fried food mixing with the dust and smoke. People hurried along, faces sharp with worry, while the children weaved between legs and carts, laughing and screaming. Among them moved Kimberly, 25, her shoulders hunched slightly under the weight of her small bag, and the anxiety that never left her. In her hand, she held the last money she had, shaking slightly, her fingers tracing the edges of each coin as if drawing courage from them. Hunger gnawed at her stomach, a relentless reminder of a day that had passed with nothing to eat. Her eyes scanned the food stalls lined along the street, steaming rice, golden fried plantains, beans cooked in rich sauce. Each aroma seemed almost unbearable, a cruel reminder of what she had lost. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, taking a deep breath to calm the rumble in her stomach. She had to choose carefully. This was the only money she had, the only food she could buy before another long night. Memories crept into her mind. The orphanage where she had grown up, its cold walls, the rain dripping on the roof, the faint lullabies of the caretakers. She remembered the story of the rainy night when she had been found, a tiny baby wrapped in a soaked cloth, abandoned at the gate. Someone had heard her cries and taken her inside, and that act of kindness had given her life. And now, years later, she wondered, could she give the same gift of hope to someone else? On the edge of the street, where the crowd thinned and the sunlight barely reached, sat an old man in a rusty wheelchair. His hands shook violently, revealing the frailty of his body. His clothes hung in tatters, and his hair and beard were unkempt, streaked with gray and dust. His eyes, however, told a story deeper than his appearance. They were weary yet searching, filled with a longing no one seemed to notice. "Please, my daughter," he called softly, his voice barely audible over the street's clamor. "Can you spare something to eat?" Kimberly stopped dead in her tracks. Her stomach roared, demanding she eat first, but her heart froze at the sight of him. She noticed the deep lines etched into his face, the trembling in his hands, and the hopelessness in his eyes. She had seen desperation before, but nothing like this. A life abandoned, forgotten by the world. Her mind raced. She wanted to turn away. She wanted to protect her last meal, to eat and survive. But with each step back, the weight of guilt pressed harder. Could she really walk away, knowing he might not make it through the night? Her fingers tightened around the food, her knuckles whitening. She remembered the warmth of the orphanage caretaker, the comfort she had once been given when she was abandoned. Perhaps it was her turn to return that same gift. Kimberly knelt beside the old man, her hands trembling as she held the plate of rice and beans. I haven't eaten either," she admitted softly. "But you need this more than I do." The old man's eyes widened in disbelief. He tried to shake his head, refusing. "No, my daughter, you must eat." But Kimberly shook her head, determination firm in her voice. I insist. Please take it. I want you to eat." The world seemed to pause. Cars honked in the distance. The crowd bustled past, but here, in this small bubble of humanity, nothing else mattered. Slowly, the old man reached out, tears sliding down his weathered face as he accepted the food. "God bless you, my daughter," he whispered, voice cracking. Kimberly smiled faintly, feeling a warmth inside that no meal could ever provide. She walked away, stomach empty but heart overflowing with peace, unaware that this single act would soon change her life forever. The morning sun had barely touched the streets when Kimberly woke up, her body still heavy from hunger, yet her mind restless. She had barely slept, her thoughts circling the old man she had helped the day before. She remembered his trembling hands, the gratitude in his eyes. She wondered if he had eaten well, if someone else had shown him the kindness she had given. She quickly prepared herself, washing her face with cold water, the sensation snapping her into action. Every step she took toward the shop felt heavier than the last. Hunger pressed against her stomach, but something stronger, hope, pushed her forward. At the shop, her boss, Mrs. Benson, was already arranging goods, her expression sharp, eyes like daggers. "Good morning, Kimberly," she said without looking up. "Good morning, Ma," Kimberly replied softly, bowing her head, careful not to draw attention. Her mind, however, wandered to the streets outside. Would Ezekiel be waiting? Would he be hungry again today? She couldn't stop herself from worrying. After work, with her first salary in hand, Kimberly rushed to buy food. She carried it carefully, imagining the look of surprise on Ezekiel's face. But when she reached his usual corner, it was empty. She looked left and right, calling softly, "Papa, Ezekiel?" Her heart sank. Where could he be? She waited a few minutes, hoping, but he did not appear. Finally, she sighed and walked back, her bag lighter, but her heart heavy. That night, as she lay on her small mat, hunger pressing against her, she whispered to herself, "I hope he is safe." Sleep came slowly, her thoughts wrapped around the man she had helped. Days passed, and Kimberly kept her promise. Each morning she prepared food, bringing it to Ezekiel. Slowly, he began to trust her. He shared small details of his life, his fears, and his loneliness. She listened, her heart growing warmer with each story, feeling a connection she had never experienced before. Kimberly also shared parts of her life, her struggles, her dreams, the emptiness she had felt in the orphanage. Ezekiel listened carefully, nodding, his eyes reflecting understanding and compassion. The streets seemed less harsh when she walked to him each day. The bustling crowd became background noise as she focused on the bond forming between them. Each meal she brought was more than food. It was a piece of her heart, a gift of care and consistency. And Ezekiel. He began to see Kimberly not just as a stranger, but as the daughter he never had. He admired her resilience, her unwavering kindness, and the way she treated everyone with respect, even those who ignored him or treated him cruelly. Despite her dedication to Ezekiel, life at work became increasingly difficult. Mrs. Benson noticed Kimberly's distractions and lateness. "Kimberly, this cannot continue," she snapped one morning, eyes sharp with suspicion. "You are late again. I cannot allow this." Kimberly tried to explain, but her words fell short. She was punished. Part of her salary was deducted. Each day became a balancing act, bringing food to Ezekiel, tending to work, and fighting her own hunger. Her resolve, however, never wavered. She would not abandon the man who had come to rely on her. One morning, she arrived to find Ezekiel weak and feverish. Panic surged through her as she guided him to the nearest pharmacy, bought medicine, and carefully administered it. Tears streamed down his face as he whispered, "My daughter, why do you care so much?" Kimberly held his hand gently. "Because I know what it feels like to suffer, and because you deserve kindness." Her acts of care became a ritual. Every small victory, Ezekiel smiling, eating, recovering, brought immense joy to her heart, overshadowing her own struggles. Weeks turned into months. Kimberly's bond with Ezekiel deepened, and one quiet morning everything changed. She received a sealed envelope with money and an address, asking her to come. Confused but compelled, she followed the instructions, traveling to a part of the city she had never seen. Wide roads, manicured gardens, grand buildings shining in the sunlight. Standing before a luxurious mansion, she felt her heart race. A maid led her inside, through grand hallways filled with shimmering art and warm light. And then she saw him, Ezekiel, the man she had fed, the man she had cared for. But he was no longer the fragile beggar she had known. He stood tall, confident, dressed in a suit that spoke of immense wealth. "Kimberly," he said softly, a gentle smile on his face. "It's me. I am Ezekiel, and I am a billionaire." Her eyes widened. Words failed her. The realization hit her like a tidal wave. The man she had thought was poor, struggling, and alone had lived a life of wealth. Yet, he had chosen to test humanity, to find someone with a pure heart. And she was that person. Ezekiel introduced her to his wife, Agnes, a woman elegant, warm, and kind. Together, they shared the story of their lives, successful yet lonely, unable to have children. They had searched for someone with a heart like theirs, someone who could carry their values forward. Kimberly was overwhelmed. She had gone from feeding a stranger on the street to being welcomed into a loving home. Slowly, she accepted them as her new family, learning their ways, adjusting to wealth, and embracing a world she had never imagined. Agnes and Ezekiel guided her, taught her business, responsibility, and compassion. Every lesson, every conversation became part of her growth. And through it all, she never forgot her roots, the hunger she once felt, the streets she once walked, the orphanage that had raised her. Years passed. Kimberly grew into her role as the heir to the family empire, trusted to manage and expand their businesses with integrity and intelligence. Yet her heart never left the streets where she had once walked hungry. She built orphanages, funded schools, fed the poor, and gave hope to children who had none. Her story became a beacon, a reminder that one act of kindness, even when you have nothing, can change countless lives. And every time she saw a child smile, a family eat, or someone's life lifted, Kimberly remembered Ezekiel on that roadside, the moment when she chose compassion over hunger. She whispered softly, "One act of kindness changed my life. May it live on." The story ends with the city alive once again, children laughing, people moving through the streets, and Kimberly standing quietly, her heart full. She knew that kindness, like a river, never ends. It flows, grows, and transforms everything it touches. One small act of kindness can change a life, maybe even yours. Just like Kimberly, who gave her last meal to a stranger, a single choice can open doors you never imagined. Remember, it's not wealth or power that makes a difference. It's a pure heart. So go out, help someone in need, and let your kindness ripple across the world. If this story touched your heart, share it, comment below, and subscribe to join us for more inspiring African stories that celebrate hope, courage, and love.